Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Jimmy Dore Show. I'm here at the Miserable Liberal in Ron Placone.
I'm miserable.
Howdy, howdy.
So let's check in. Let's see what Bernie Sanders is doing today. This is from Katrina Vanden Heuvel. She says, Sanders is retrieving the best of our country's radical ideas. He's embracing FDR's economic Bill of Rights, the sort of bold thinking we need. Sanders to introduce a plan to guarantee every American a job. He's embracing the sort of bold thinking we need. There you go. Wow. So what are the Democrats doing?
Probably something just as substantial, I'm sure. I mean, if that's what one guy's doing, Democrats must be up to a lot.
The Democrats are, let's see what they're doing. I think
Pelosi weren't alerted about the lawsuit until the DNC was about to file. Tom Perez, the chairman of the...
Oh, the DNC's filing a lawsuit about the election in 2016, and they're suing Wikileaks and Donald Trump, correct?
Almost as productive as what Bernie's up to. Almost.
I would say that's
really neck and neck.
Well, people, everywhere I go, people are like, hey, when's the DNC lawsuit starting? Mm-hmm. Right? People are like, why don't they? I'm like, oh, you guys don't want to know about the jobs that you're... Who cares about jobs? Who's talking about that? The DNC has their finger on the pulse. That's the look of a guy who has his finger on the pulse. This guy could not be a bigger joke of a human being. Like, this is covered by The Onion. So Chris Hayes interviewed Tom Perez about the DNC lawsuit. And Tom Perez kept underhanding with a lob with an arc on it, these softballs to Chris Hayes to knock. And Chris Hayes did not hit one of those. He did not lay a glove on Tom Perez. So what Chris Hayes does in this interview is he plays nice with the Democratic Party to please his geriatric audience.
He tossed the softball back.
It
was like, everybody wins. We just want to keep the volley going. Oh, the headline, by the way, DNC files lawsuit alleging nation should never, ever stop focusing on 2016 election.
So I think that's what the Democrats are trying to do. They're trying to remind everybody that they pulled off, that Hillary Clinton and the DNC committed the biggest election fraud in the history of our country, because that's what they did. And then when Donald Trump beat the most unlikable, unpopular nominee in the history of the party and country, they blamed another country. And they're still doing it. Here we go. Watch out. What a great job Chris Hayes does. What's this? This is so... The thing that makes this pathetic, like if Don Lemon did this interview, you'd go, okay, well, Don Lemon tried. But Chris Hayes is super smarty pants. Just look at him, right? And he's 10 times smarter than me. So when he does a shitty job like he's about to do, you know he's doing it on purpose because he's a bought paid tool. Okay, here we go.
Democratic National Committee, and he joins me now. Chairman, why now?
So his first question is, Chairman, why now? Not, what the, are you effing, whose idea was this to make everybody remember the biggest election fraud in the history of our country? Why would you do that? Why aren't you proposing anything that actually helps people to try to win an election instead of doing PR stunts like this, which is what this is? Okay, here we go.
Why now? 3 reasons, Chris. Number 1, we don't know how long the criminal...
Number 1, we don't have any plans. Number 2, we have no ideas. Number 3, our donors told us not to do anything to help people. So those would be the 3. Oh, I'm sorry, what was the 3?
Proceedings will take, and nor do we want to rush that. And so we have to...
He said, we don't know how long the criminal proceedings are going to take, and we don't want to rush it. Because, you know, civil proceedings fly by. I bet you this will be in and out of court by July. Am I wrong? What? It's the exact opposite is the truth. And he knows it because he used to be he's a lawyer. He knows what he's saying is full of it. It's the exact opposite. And Chris Hayes, by the way, nails him on it without ever mentioning it. I guess that's how he nails people now. He doesn't say anything.
In order to preserve our rights under the civil justice system, statute of limitations, things of that nature. So we have that legal imperative. Number 2, over the course of the last year, I've done my homework. A year ago, it was clear.
If I had a nickel for every time he blinks during this answer, I could buy Bank of America. Okay, here we go.
Me that the Russians had hacked the DNC, and they did it with the purpose of helping Donald Trump and hurting the Democrats. But we didn't have the evidence a year ago connecting the Russians and the Trump campaign. We have that evidence now.
So I'm sure Chris Hayes is going to say, oh, my God, you have the evidence. What is it? Let's see what he says.
If I had a nickel for every time he had an original thought in that statement, I wouldn't have enough for a Little Debbie snack cake.
That's why we move forward. And thirdly, Chris, I'm worried about the 2018 elections. There is no accountability for what the Russians did. And
there was no accountability for the Democratic Party rigging the election and screwing the country out of a progressive and handing the presidency to Donald Trump. There's never been an accounting for that. Do you know that? No one's ever gotten in trouble for that. No one went to court. No one went to jail. There was nothing. Donna Brazil laid it all out for us. WikiLeaks revealed how corrupt the frickin' DNC. This is unbelievable. So what does that mean? That means the DNC is going to rig the next one too. They're doing it right now. And Bernie Sanders, whose heart is in the right place, is making a mistake. Instead of starting a third party, which would be the most popular party in the country, because he is by far the most popular politician in the country, he is sheepdogging people into this guy's party. And this guy's whole job is to lie to you. His whole job is to gaslight you. That's his whole job. But the cracks are coming, and he can't hold it. The center will not hold.
And they do things with impunity because this administration won't hold them accountable. We've got to hold them accountable. That's what the civil justice system is about.
So I'm sure Chris is going to say, who's going to hold you guys accountable for screwing over the primary? Let's see what he says.
Accountability. It's about deterrence. Our democracy is on fire, and we have to preserve our democracy. We've got to preserve full and fair elections.
So the questions Chris Hayes should ask is, what is the new evidence? You guys have new evidence. And two, who's holding you accountable for rigging your own primaries that we all know is complete rigged? Those would be the two questions. Let's see what he asks them.
It's a big part of what this is about.
But the entities aren't going to be held accountable before the 2018 midterms, right? I mean, I've been around civil litigation a little bit, and boy, does that take a while.
So he didn't ask any of those questions. He didn't ask what the new evidence is. He didn't ask about what about you guys rigging the primary. Are you still going to use superdelegates, which is the most undemocratic thing in the world? Nothing. He just goes, I bet that's going to take a while. That's his big question. His first question, why now? His second question is, I know a little bit. It's going to take a while. What the? Why don't you just have his mom interview him, Chris? Are you kidding me? This is you. Whew.
Well, absolutely, we won't finish the case before now, but we want to send a very, very clear signal. If you want to mess with elections here, there are going to be consequences.
Unless you're in the Democratic Party. Then there is no consequences whatsoever because we go in front of a bought media, a guy like Chris Hayes, who doesn't have any integrity left, and it's going to give me a pass. Watch this.
Are raising the cost of your interference. We know that this administration is Putin's poodle, and so they're not going to do anything.
A little McCarthy smear on top of it. No one in the country gives a shit about this. No one.
Well, you know what's interesting is how they both pointed out that this thing's going to take a really long time because it's music to both their ears that Russia is going to continue indefinitely. That's what both of them want.
How about, Jimmy, on October 24th, 2016, Hillary Clinton tweeted, Donald Trump refused to say that he'd respect the results of this election. That's a direct threat to our democracy.
So we will continue to act. If you want to do that, if you're going to punch us, quite frankly, Chris, we're going to punch back. And that's what this lawsuit is about. We are protecting our democracy. When you go after the right to vote, when you go after the institution of elections, that is the essence of our democracy. So this wasn't simply an attack on the DNC. This was an attack on our democracy.
Just a few of the reactions from some of the people that are named here, Roger.
Just a few.
So I'm not going to ask you a question ever. Chris Hayes is just basically saying, I'm not going to ask you a question, really. I'm never going to ask you a question. And so what he's going to do now is he's going to read stuff that other people have said and then not even make Tom Perez answer it. Watch this.
Stone says it's bogus, it's meritless, it's baseless, based on conjecture, speculation, supposition. Some lawyers will have to...
You go to Roger Stone? Since when is Roger Stone... Anyone gives a shit what Roger Stone says about anything? When is Roger Stone? So the reason why Chris Hayes goes to Roger Stone is to discredit the critics of this stupid PR stunt, which is what this is. This is a stupid, transparent PR stunt, which actually is already backfiring on the Democrats. That's how horrible they are in politics. And Chris Hayes, nothing, not saying one thing relevant. And in fact, he does their bidding. That's what they do. Ed Schultz just let us know that Chris Hayes got a phone call from Phil Griffin saying, this is the story you're leading with, and this is what you're going to say about it. Chris, that's what Ed Schultz already let us know happens over there.
Sanctioned for wasting the court's time. The Trump campaign says the Trump campaign will be prepared to leverage the discovery process, explore the DNC's now secret records about the actual corruption they perpetrated. And of course, the president tweeting that it's good news that it will now counter for the DNC server that they refused to give to the FBI.
That is a great point. The DNC never gave their server to the FBI. Why? Why? Oh, I don't know. You tell me. So that's game over. If you don't want to give your server to the FBI or the Department of Homeland Security, and you think someone did something that's so important they undermine our democracy, but you can't have our server, you're bullshitting. And that's a great point. And Chris Hayes lets it go right by. Watch this. Watch what he focuses on. Well, he's going to focus on what's in yellow. Watch this.
And then he said the Wendy Wasserman Schultz servers, I think he then later corrected to Debbie Wasserman Schultz, a document held by the Pakistani mystery man and Clinton emails.
So what Chris Hayes is probably going to go, hey, why is that? You never gave the server. That's a big red flag, and my journalistic bullshit detector just went off. Is that what he's going to say? Let's see.
The people you've sued have gotten your attention, I guess.
Well, I mean,
he didn't even ask him a question. He has yet to ask him a question in this entire interview. Not one critical question, not one probing question, nothing. His first question was, why now? His second question was, this is going to take a while. His third question was, you've certainly got the attention of the people that you want to get the attention of. This is a guy who's held up as a journalist. This is what it looks like when a journalist gets paid $30,000 a day to prop up the establishment in the Democratic Party and do softball interviews with guys who are fucking lying to the people.
Well, he might still have some more questions. I'm predicting the last one is going to be, can we take a selfie? But let's see what happens here.
All right, here we go.
I saw that response, and it was kind of a greatest hits of all their wild conspiracy theories.
He's in the middle of pushing a conspiracy. This is how it works now. So that just, do you need any more proof that people use the term conspiracy theory to discredit people with legitimate concerns? Because that's a legitimate concern. And what he's doing is pushing a conspiracy with no evidence. And he's been doing it for 2 years. The conspiracy is Trump is a Manchurian candidate who's in bed with the Russians. He has no evidence. They've had him phone tapped for 2 frickin' years. And everybody in that White House campaign are all tapped. That's how William Binney explained it to us. When they put a tap on one person next to Trump, they can now do 2 hops, meaning that person and anybody he talks to and any person that person talks to. Now they're all surveilled. And they still got nothing 2 years later. What's the evidence, Tom? Wow.
And here's the thing for me, Chris. I spent 12...
The thing for me is that I'm a good bullshitter. Actually, I'm not. People see right through me. And I get booed at live events.
...years or so at the Justice Department. They were some of the best years of my professional life. I worked as a career prosecutor under Republican and Democratic administrations. I believe in the civil justice system. This case now goes before an Article III judge. It's not trial by Twitter. It's trial in a court of law where fake news and the things that they're talking about that are just so unfactual.
He's in the middle of pushing a conspiracy theory with no facts, none. And he's allowed to say the exact opposite on a news show. On a news show. That's amazing. Upside down and backwards. People say that when I won't buy into the Russiagate conspiracy theory, they go, oh, Jimmy's a conspiracy theorist because he doesn't buy into the Russiagate. No, that's the exact opposite. That's how effed up everyone is. And they're effed up because of people like Chris Hayes lets it happen. Journalistic malpractice on the highest order, and he does it right out in public. Just like Chris Hedges says, they're so brazen now, they just steal from you right out in public. He does this right out in public. Like, nobody who watches this show gives it. So who does watch that show? What is the brain deadness of the people who watch this show?
That's
wait a
what
second.
we will do.
What they're saying, and I want you to be clear on this, what they're saying is this is fundamentally a political messaging document. It is not a serious lawsuit.
Well, I'll tell you, Chris.
He says what they're saying. There? You mean Roger Stone and Trump? Or how about, I don't know, everyone in the world? So he makes it look like it's Roger Stone and Trump. That's his big pushback. And then he won't even say, hey, to me it looks like a PR document. But he picks Roger Stone and Trump to discredit it, and then he throws it back. It's brilliant tool work by Chris Hayes.
This is not about partisanship. It's about patriotism. And I'll tell you one other thing.
Okay.
When the lawsuit was filed by the DNC against the Nixon campaign, that was the exact response of the Nixon campaign and John Mitchell and other folks who later became...
Did the Nixon campaign prop up a criminal clown in the other party? Did they do that too? Jesus Christ.
Convicted felons. And we saw what happened in Watergate, and we will see what will happen here.
It's true. 1972, shortly after the break-in, DNC files a...
So Chris Hayes just totally goes, whatever way he goes, Chris Hayes just follows him. Whatever he brings up, yeah, it's true. That is what happened. It's true.
He had so many soundbite opportunities, too. When Tom Perez totally stuttered addressing some of the critiques, like, oh, well, they are going with their things that are totally unfactual. Perfect opportunity. Oh, so set the record straight right now. The FBI saw the DNC servers then, right? Is that what you just said? That's not
right.
true. So they saw it then, set the record straight.
No.
Settlement on the day that Nixon leaves office, if I'm mistaken. Finally, Senator Claire McCaskill, who's in one...
Finally. So now, finally, this is his final question. Finally, he comes almost close to asking a question.
Most contested races in the entire country, in Missouri, of course. She called this lawsuit a silly distraction. And I wonder if your response to that.
Well, that's it. And I wonder if you are going to admit what's obvious to everyone, including a senator on the Democratic Party. That this is a silly... Chris Hayes doesn't have the balls that Claire McCaskill has. And he's not even in the party. He's not a member of the ruling party. He doesn't have the balls Claire McCaskill has. Isn't that stunning?
Well, what's also stunning is that the Democrats are so incompetent, they're making me agree with Claire McCaskill on something. I'm actually agreeing with her on this one.
We can walk and chew gum. I love Senator McCaskill. We've invested in her race. We're going to continue to invest in her race because she's a great senator.
And she's a great senator who called you on your bullshit.
But I'll tell you, I disagree for the simple reason that our democracy is at risk here. We have to make sure that the elections coming up in November are fair. And they invaded us the last time. They hacked the DNC. They tried to influence the outcome of the election. There's no accountability in the White House. And why wouldn't they do it again? And we can walk and chew gum at the DNC.
All right, no. DNC Chairman Tom Perez, thank you very much.
Jimmy.
That's it! That's it! That was the whole interview! Come on. Even fake progressives that he brings on his show would ask better questions than that. Come on.
I like how he has the analogy, we can walk and chew gum at the same time. It's like, you're a major political party with no actual platform.
You have no plan.
Yeah, in this analogy, I wouldn't even trust you to chew gum without giving you thorough instructions first. Like, don't swallow it.
Listen, he can walk and chew gum. That doesn't mean we're going to get democracy. I want to go back to that point where Hillary Clinton, so this is in response to Chris Wallace saying, Trump, will you honor the results of the election? And he goes, well, in time I will, blah, blah, blah. Well, her response later, Hillary's, was we've had free and fair elections, and we've accepted the outcomes when we may not have liked them. And that is what must be expected of anyone standing on this debate stage during a general election, to accept the results of the election.
Is there video of her saying that?
Oh, it's not available on this.
Oh, isn't that interesting? That's not that video. We're going to track that down. Here we are. I made this point before. It was before the election when everyone was sure Hillary was going to win. They were wagging their finger at Trump because they were afraid he was going to tell his supporters that they rigged the election, which they did rig the primary, and that they were afraid that there might be unrest in the country. And how dare Donald Trump not accept the results of the election? And look what is happening. To show you they have no integrity. They're the opposite of honest people, and they're liars when they say that Trump should accept. They're political operators. They lie if they're opening their mouth. The Clinton campaign are liars, cheaters, and criminals. And Chris Hayes just let him get away with it. Didn't lay a glove, didn't even try. He didn't try. Did you see those questions? Did you even have like your assistant producer maybe even draw up some questions? No, they were like, hey, Tom Perez is coming on to do a PR stunt. Do we need questions? No, we don't need questions, you dummy. It's Tom Perez, the DNC, Trump hate, whatever, ratings. It's not about news. What Chris Hayes is doing there, and what he does every night, is his job is not to inform you. His job is to make money for Comcast. And in response, Comcast gives him $30,000 a day thereabouts. Probably more. A day. So,
can I add something, Jimmy?
Who goes to MSNBC for the news? Who the fuck does that?
Who does that? I just want to add, like, the whole idea, like, you know, when Tom Perez is talking about democracy. He keeps dropping the word democracy. And I can't stand it. But I want to say something like, if Tom Perez and the DNC is so worried about democracy, why wasn't Jill Stein allowed on that stage for the debate?
Right.
Because that's real democracy, because she has a different
They're afraid
perspective.
of democracy, Steph. Tom Perez is actually afraid of democracy, and so are the corporate Democrats and the DNC. They're afraid of democracy. And what guys like Keith Ellison are supposed to be doing is they're supposed to call them out. They're not supposed to prop up a criminally corrupt party that cheats their base. And what Keith Ellison is doing is propping them up, which is why, by the way, he's blocked me on Twitter, Keith Ellison. It's hilarious because he knows what the progressives think already. He doesn't need to hear it from me. He doesn't want to hear the truth. And he's a pretender.
Well, I think maybe Tom Perez just doesn't want to see our democracy hijacked because that's the superdelegate's job.
That's
he wants to look out for his friends.
We'll see you July 1st in Portland, Oregon. That's our next fire show. We added a second show, July 1st in Portland, Oregon. Please make sure you're subscribed. And if you think you are, you probably are. It only takes a second to check. Just check. Make sure you're subscribed. Click that bell so you get a notification, or else they won't notify you when we drop a video. That's enough. So please make sure you do that. You can become a patron, help support the show. We give you hours of bonus material every week. And we're on Steam It. We're steaming it right now. Every Saturday, 2 p.m., super solid Saturday chat. We do a live stream, and if you have questions, you can ask us. We'll answer it back. Thanks for your support. 2 p.m. Pacific.